So, um, we're gonna check out Johnny's testimony, mainly so we can go over these experiences where we can't assume because somebody is of somebody famous like Johnny. We can assume that things have been easy for the guy. I hope I can fill in the holes or give you a better understanding of what's really happening in the guy's mind. Obviously, I'm not gonna go in there and find out, but we have kind of similar lives in terms of what we've gone through. Both his occupation is that of an actor, and I am also an actor, and granted, I'm not as well known as him, but that's why I need to, you need to hear from someone like me, because I'm in the business. I know what it takes, and no, I'm not at the top right now. I'm not getting paid millions of dollars for a flick to do a film, but that's why I can give you a more down to earth outtake or take on what it is to be a working actor, because there is a disdain that a lot of people feel for actors especially from Hollywood. They're all qualified as some kind of prima donnas. They get away with everything, and certainly we have seen some examples, but that doesn't mean that it applies to everybody. Like I said before, is the tool of the basic to just generalize. I've heard a lot of negative comments about this trial, how some people think, that it's just some war of egos, but this is some serious business, and it's actually setting some precedents in terms of what can happen in the justice system, and on a case-to-case basis, especially because it was always the women were believed more over men, and now we can see something like this is a momentous occasion. We can't waste time and not study the situation. I mean, I find a lot of similarities with his growing up as well, his marriage, my marriage. The same type of person, and so I can give you that personal account as well. I've been there. So anyway, let's listen to it. And we'll break it down. I'll jump in once in a while. I hope that I can negotiate this video thing in audio. I'm not very good at this, but I'm learning. Anyway, let's go ahead and play it, and it's pretty emotional. It's hard to watch and not feel for the guy. Again, just to give you some kind of I guess level or foundation to root ourselves from. Nobody lands at the top, it might have seemed that Johnny Depp's career started like in a flash, right? But he was an artist in the first place, and he was trying to sell his art or do something, with his art. It just so happens. It just so happens that sometimes our destiny calls us more than what we have, had planned, and for so long. Sometimes things don't happen for a reason, and they lead you to these other places where you, in a million years, you would have never thought of a way to get there. But somehow it happens for you. And again, a lot of the times because you gone through a lot of shit. You paid your dues. You took the humiliations. You took the hits. And you continue forward because you had a dream. Metallica. They used to live in one room. Barely any furniture. Just a place to sleep. And, these guys did everything there. Practiced, slept, ate. But you know what they ate? It was called bologna on hand. Because they didn't have that much money to eat. So they would put bologna on their hand, basically, and eat it. Okay, and now they're big stars. It doesn't take away from their struggle. But you have to find out first before you start talking about how, these elites, are owning the world and shit. It's like these are people who struggle hard to get to where they wanted to be and had to also protect their reputations, like in this case with Johnny, because people just assume, again, like I said in my last video, he was being painted as crazy and wild because he did drugs, because he's a Hollywood actor. I mean, it's such a old-fashioned take on artists, is that there's these weirdos, it's just any working people. It's I will tell you in a little bit what Diego Rivera said about an artist. In fact, I'll tell you right now. He said that the work of an artist, our contribution to the world, is that we feed the nervous system, the receptor, the audience. We heal their nervous system. We feed it by inducing these hormonal changes in their bodies, by elevating them, by whether it is through music, through dance, through poetry, through acting, through any kind of art, martial arts, something high in skill becomes beautiful. Therefore, it is art. So what you see, that's what I said to myself in the beginning, watching movies, going, I can do that. And 20 years of working and working and working starts to give you, you earn your stripes, and then you start to earn the right and the foundation, the thick stuff, the gooey stuff that makes a career. Okay, so this man has had a long career, has showed us who he is. And another person who also went through struggles was George Clooney. The man was actually living in his sister's closet. Well, his sister had a family with his husband and kids, and her husband and kids, but he rented basically, or lived in a closet like Harry Potter. I keep visualizing Harry Potter. And now he's a high-paid actor, okay? But it doesn't take away from the struggle, from all the gigs that they had to take, some non-paying in the beginning of their career. So it's just like any other working people, that worked and worked and worked, and they're, again, if you put your effort into your job, your everything, it will show, and then people will like it, and then will call you and say, hey, I like your art. I like your work. Come do some of that work for me. How do you build a career like that? Years of work to build a reputation. And and in this case, it was tarnished in just one quick, statement. Anyway, here we go. Wow, that was a long intro. But it fills you guys in.
I had a very interesting childhood, one that I thought was normal until a certain age. My mother, her feet were on fire and she had to move, so we moved constantly. So you were always the new kid, and that wasn't ever particularly pleasant. Then we moved to Florida, South Florida, when I was about 7 or 8, and again moved several times. But my mother was quite unpredictable. She was very unpredictable.
Okay, so right off the bat, unpredictability creates a sense of instability. So a child we're already white knuckling it. There is no sense of security already, and then having a parent that all of a sudden yells and all of a sudden freaks out, and all of a sudden especially the yelling. If you notice in some of the other recordings, from what's her name, when she was being horrible, Jenny was actually flinching a lot of the times, and I was too. Because for people that have been there, it just plays on us over and over. So anytime anybody gets loud, and so again, people that have grown up with parents who are volatile, they learn to kind of read the room, read the parent. Basically, we're constantly reading people's faces to see, are they, and because as long as they're good, we know that we're not going to be harmed, we're going to be okay, we're going to be cool, they're happy, we're good. And once they start to get upset, we disappear, because we don't want to be in the middle of that wrath, So
she had the ability to be as cruel as anyone can be with all of us. That is to say, my sister Christy and my brother Danny and my sister Debbie, and also my father. So she could become quite violent, and she was quite violent, and she was quite cruel. There was physical abuse, certainly, which could be in the form of an ashtray being flung at you, it hits you in the head, or you'd get beat with a high heel shoe or a telephone or whatever's handy. So in our house, we were never exposed to any type of safety or security. The only thing that one could do was to try to stay out of the line of fire. I could start to see when she was going to get riled up and somebody was going to get it. Generally, it was me. There's physical abuse. That was a constant. That was just a constant, We were all somewhat shell-shocked, even if she just walked past us, you'd sort of shield yourself because you didn't know what was going to happen. There was quite a lot of verbal abuse. There was quite a lot of name-calling and bullying, making fun of whatever defect, one might have. If my brother wore glasses, so of course he was four eyes, and his teeth were messed up in the front, so he was buck-toothed as well. We had to take it. I mean, you just had to take the pain. I was born with it was a very rare thing in my eye as the back of the lens is spherical. Normally, is spherical. So in this eye isn't normal. This eye, I was born with a more conical lens, so my brain never learned to see out of my left eye, and they noticed when I was about 3, 4, that I had a lazy eye, a wandering eye, and she would call me cockeye, one eye, anything she could get to.
These are the excuse me. These are the dudes that I'm talking about. You're on your stripes, dealing with the world, because the world prepare you for all this, for the high places. It's through living that we grow, and when you've gone through so many challenges, by the time you get to your 20s, you have some kind of advanced experience because you've gone through so much shit. But big point here, he or she who has gone through so much shit and they survived it and they kept their innocence, meaning their sense of goodness, their innocent side, then that person will be rewarded with what they want, what they wish for. They will always be guided by that North Star. It's imperative that we understand this, that it's not just given, because they have a pretty face. There's actual work. These are artists, again, making you feel the emotions, making you feel exalted, feel excited, feel involved, feel in love, feel wonderful, feel excited, again, engrossed. It's a perfect place for your body to be, because it's like rest mode. So when you listen to music, when you're dancing, you get into this trance where just all of a sudden the world becomes an easier place to be. Now, what's wrong with that? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Anyway, here you go.
Demean, humiliate. I even had to wear an eye patch on my good eye to strengthen my bad eye, so that it would cease to wander. It was exercising the muscles of the eye, though the brain had never learned to see. So I still, my vision in my left eye is, I'm legally blind in my left eye. The verbal abuse, the psychological abuse, was almost worse than the beatings, because the beatings were just physical pain, and the physical pain you learn to deal with. You learn to accept it. Yeah. You learn to deal with it. Mm-hmm. But the psychological and emotional abuse,
that doesn't go away.
That's what kind of tore us up, I think.
That affects you.
My father was a very
to this day
kind man. In fact, my father's still alive. He's a very kind man.
So who do we think that he resembles? He basically he's got more of his dad in him, right? He's more calm, again, like he himself said, a gentleman, like his father. Again, that also has to do with the person's energy. As you notice, here's a calm person who marries somebody who is not. You see they say the opposites attract. attract, and that's true. In this case, you have somebody, probably could be somebody carrying a lot of what's it called, divine feminine energy. And as you can see, the female in this relationship was carrying the divine masculine energy. So they complemented each other in a very, very weird way. But that's basically what's happening here. In every couple, you're gonna have these dynamics. One is carrying the divine feminine energy, and the other one, the masculine, the divine masculine. So here we have, it doesn't, again, it has nothing to do with male and female. Okay? Masculine, feminine. Female, male, that's different. Okay? So in this case, we're talking about just energy, what they're carrying. So in this case, very soft-spoken man, that's his father. He turned out to be exactly the same way. So just by inheritance, we can see that, boy, there could be some truth with this guy being innocent, right? So we also can see patterns. Brothers and sisters, it keeps recycling. We have to stop these hereditary patterns. We see our parents do it and we just repeat it, right? So at some point, one of you in your family has to stop those cycles. And you're probably going to seem like the bad guy when you do it, because you're standing up to the status quo. You're saying, no, we're not doing that anymore. So you decide to stop it. And because you see it. You see how it's been affecting your family for generations. So patterns, okay, it's huge. We have to pay attention to these things and see where we're repeating our patterns, because what's happening is that we are marrying our own parents, basically. Yeah.
Very quiet man. In fact, he's very shy. Not a confrontational person in any way. And when Betty Sue, my mother, would go off on a tangent toward my father, and of course in front of the kids it was no matter to her. He amazingly remained very, very stoic. Never, as she was rationing him with horrible things.
See his face?
He stood there and...
When he said horrible, he got the flash of one of those memories. And there was an actual physical, biological change happening within him. This shit can kill you, because it's just the memories, when they come back, it's true. It's like you're there again. And as much as you think about it, that's how often you're there in that moment again, like that U2 song, Stuck in a Moment. Over and over and over, like Groundhog Day. He just had that one of those moments.
And of course, in front of the kids, it was no matter to her. He amazingly remained very, very stoic. Never, as she was rationing him with horrible things, he stood there and just looked at her while she delivered the pain, and he swallowed it. He took it. Never a moment when my father lost control and attacked my mother or hit my mother or even said a bad thing to my mother. The things that I witnessed were, there were a couple of times when it got too far that I could see his eyes welling up, as he was staring at her, saying nothing. And then the most that he would do is he would punch a wall. I once saw him punch a wall, and
Rather punch a wall than hurt a female. It's the toughest place to be, because as you grow up as a little boy, well, into a man, you know that anybody who disrespects you like that, because obviously you're already carrying the scars, you got it from home, but anybody calls you that in the street, you can fix them up. But in this case, it's a female and someone you love, and you're standing there going, how the hell does this happen? This woman was telling me that she would die for me, that she loved me, that she loved everything about me, and now it's like she wants to kill me. It's like she hates me. It's like there's no love in those eyes. The vibe that I get is not, who is this person? So they start yelling. It doesn't matter if the kids are around. They don't care. In fact, if anybody acts scared, that pisses them off even more. Like, why are you acting scared, you fucking little weenies, and then the name calling continues. Again, the physical abuse is not as bad. You can deal with that shit. It's over in a few seconds, right? And you have to heal from it, but still, it goes away. But the words, they hurt there and they hurt afterwards, and they never stop hurting unless you actually go through a process to understand it. Through understanding, we're going to find peace.
It shatter his hand because it wasn't drywall. It was proper concrete and steel wire and rebar and things of that nature. And but still, never touched her, never argued with her. He remained a gentleman. And to me, as a 5-year-old boy, I kept wondering why does he take it? How does he take this? And why doesn't he leave her? He was able to maintain his calm and his composure. He was able to maintain his relationship with his children. He was a good man. He is a good man. My father was not an abusive man. So I can remember my father coming home from work, and maybe I'd gotten a bad report card, or maybe I'd gotten in trouble at school, or something like that. And my father would arrive home from work, and the first thing she would say was, "John, take him out there. He gets the belt. Give him the belt."
Again, you have to remember that these are the orders. Basically, this is mom is making this decision based on her own findings, her own imaginings, her own ghosts in her head. Somehow Johnny was disrespectful. Somehow he broke the rules, and he needs to pay. Now you see the patterns. Now you see how it is so possible that his wife was actually treating him that way. Now when you hear him speak, and tell his life story, you know this is not the first time he's gone over this story. Obviously, in his mind, he's gone over it over and over and over and over. But also, he's also told it, and he probably told it to every girl he's been with. Once they got close enough, because that's why we find a mate, so we can feel the love that we never got, right? But in the end, we end up finding people who resemble our parents because we mistake what we got from our parents as love. So we go out and look for it. I given you guys the example of Jenny from Forrest Gump. She went after every single guy that reminded her of her father and his abuse towards her and her sisters. Even to the point where she told Forrest, you don't know what love is. She didn't know. She didn't know. She had a misconception about what love was, and in this case, we have the same thing. We end up with our people who resemble our parents because we feel that is love. It seems so familiar. Yes, we embrace it, and it's exactly the same person, just different body.
And he wanted to know what it was about, so he'd take me out to the garage. I'll never forget this white, thick leather 1970s era, thick leather white belt that he would take off, and then he would commence to inflict the punishment.
So he's told this story to all his girlfriends and his ex-wife, and even Amber. And the one who took that story and knew how to use it against him and exactly to do exactly the same things that would hurt him, she found the arsenal in this love bombing phase when she was wonderful. Again, I'm speaking to you from personal experiences. That's how I know this happened. That's how I know he's telling the truth, because it's identical. It's like these people go to a school and they get a degree in the same subject, being an asshole and psychopaths. So she gathered this information by making him feel comfortable, making him feel that she would never betray him. She would never, hurt him. And she took that information and used it exactly the way Mom would have used it. She knew exactly where to hit him. And you heard the recordings. She was vicious. Maniacal witch.
On me. When my father left, I didn't realize that he had left. He left for. I was 15. I had already left school. He left for work one morning, just like every day, and was packing his car, and then he left. And then hours later, my mom, Betty Sue, came home from work. It was about 3:30 in the afternoon. And she walked in the door and stopped and just looked around like she felt something. And I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "Your daddy's gone." I said, "Well, yeah, I seen him leave for work this morning." She said, No, he's gone. And she ran into their bedroom and into their closet, and I followed her, and she opened the door, and there was his rack of clothing and all his belongings were gone. And she was quite upset, and I took her car and drove to my father's work, and I sat down in front of him at 15, and I said, "Listen, seems as though somebody stole all your clothes out of the closet." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I can't live it anymore. You're the man. You're the man now." And those words didn't quite sit well with me. I didn't feel like I was ready to hear those words.
No, no boy ever is ever ready to hear those words. It's ridiculous the load that sometimes it's placed on a child. In my personal life, I mean, the patterns that my family and her family have been following, I was aware of them, and I did everything possible to not fall into the same things for my girls, not to have the same lives as my exes and her sister. See, it's two girls, you know, and divorced parents, and it's just, I was trying to avoid these things because I've seen it, but you hold on and hold on and hold on, and you realize, well, I've given this woman so many opportunities to be better, and she's not being better, and I can't keep fighting in front of the kids with her, because again, they don't care that the kids are there. In fact, they'll blame it on you. You see what you're doing to the kids, and you're like just sitting there, it's like it's a screwdriver to your brain. It fucks with it. And just like his mother, you know, it just keeps trickling down into the next generation. We have to stop these things. So Dad leaves. Now he tells him, "You're the man of the house." My dad left. He took the trip to El Norte, to the United States, and same thing. I was probably, 7 or 8. You're the man of the house now. And once Daddy is gone, every single kid in the neighborhood knows you have a target on your back. You become open game. It's open season on you, because you have no protector now. But you're supposed to be the man of the house. You feel like you're pantless. That's quick growing up.
But that's what I got. Then my mom went into a very, very dark place, a very deep, dark depression, as you can imagine. And woke up. I'd fallen asleep, and I woke up and walked out into the living room, and I saw my mother, very feebly, and like almost, it was like a slow motion crawl, and there's drool coming out of her mouth, and as I was about to run and call, the front door busted open, and my uncle and 2 paramedics came in, threw her on the gurney, and whisked her out of the house to get her to the hospital to pump her stomach. She had swallowed a multitude of pills to try to take herself out, to try to commit suicide. And when she got out of the hospital, she was a small firecracker of a woman. She was about 5'2". But when she got out of the hospital, the depression was so deep. She was down to she lived on the couch, and she weighed about 70 pounds. And that, all that imagery spun into my head at that time, that I thought that was in my head at the time, I thought that was a cowardly way for my father to have left. My father and I had a conversation.
So you leave, you stop it, you cut it. I can't, because we can't keep fighting. The kids are watching and they're being traumatized. I know that I am the way I am because I saw my father get completely, like loud. I mean, he was a singing student in the University of Puebla, and he was really getting into opera singing. So he could hit high notes and powerfully. So when he would yell, there was this booming sound. That's, to this day, I could shit my pants. I could literally piss my pants. Like Richard Pryor says. That Richard Pryor says the same thing about his father. So to this day, if he hears his father say Richard, he'll piss his pants. Like, Richard, done. This is, because you have to remember this is damage that has been going on for a long time. But anyway, as a parent, and you're sensitive enough to see these things, and you probably went through them. You don't want your children to go through the same thing. You learn what not to do because you've seen your progenitors, the people who were the example of parenthood and love and guidance. You saw them do that. So what are you supposed to do? You do the same thing, right? But no, you can't, because you know what you got, and it's like, absolutely not. So everything you do as a parent, you want to be a parent, and you want to do things right, and you never ever want to put your hands on them, and you never want to torture them, and you never want to do anything to tarnish those fragile bodies and minds, psyches. So this is why I know he didn't do anything that but she did, because everything, it's exactly like I said, it's like they go to school for this stuff.
Conversation years later where I asked him what really happened, how did it happen. I was very disappointed in him because I started to believe that his exit was sneaky, cowardly. He didn't, when he said goodbye to me, when he left for work that morning, he just said goodbye, goodbye, Bob, and I went, see you later, Pop, that was it. Until I learned the truth from him. I learned that I was wrong about my first impressions of his exit from the family. Very wrong. And I'll tell you one thing.
That's the boat that I'm in at this point. By leaving, I explained to them what I was going to do. That I wasn't leaving them, I was leaving her. Because again, I was telling them, this is not normal. This is not the way it's supposed to be. And this is not your daddy. This is not who daddy is. What she's been painting you and what I've become because of her abuse. This is not daddy. Daddy is not high all the time because he just wants to goof off. It's because he can't take it anymore. He's trying to numb himself down. They keep talking about Johnny having these drug problems. It's like he wouldn't have them if he wasn't under such big deal of stress. See, he's trying to numb himself. And it doesn't work. Because there they are all the time. And then they supply you with it. And then they introduce you to them, to even more varieties. And they tell you how to do it. And pretty soon you're doing it with them. And you figure, okay, well, we're sharing something. But then they turn around and start calling you names about it. Like, it's making you feel like shit. It's like, but you're doing it with me. It's like, not as bad as you're doing. And you're taking it out of control. And like, what are you talking about? And then they go like, calm down. Why are you raising your voice? And you're like, what? I didn't yell. I another screwdriver to the brain just to fuck with you. You don't even know what's what. It's called gaslighting. Right? So it's a really tough situation, but then you leave because, again, somebody has to stop this. The hemorrhaging has to be stopped. We're bleeding here. Nobody's fixing anything. So this reminds me of that movie, Dark Knight, and when Joker. This spoiler alert. Basically ends up killing Harvey Dent, or making him look like this, or basically causing him to turn into an evil guy, to become a villain, basically. Somebody who was good. He was a white knight, basically. So the Dark Knight decided, you know what? People need to believe. People have to have this sense of stability. So I'll be the bad guy. Chase me. Hunt me. But this needs to stop. We'll stop him, but we'll stop the problem. But at the same time, we'll give him somebody to blame. But the problem will be stopped. The hemorrhaging, the bleeding will be stopped. And they'll chase me and hunt me and accuse me and prosecute me. But in the future, the truth will come out. And I'll be clear. But for now, we're just going to have to run. Be pointed at and be seen as guilty like he did for 6 years. I'm just in the first part of it. As I know it's still a long journey ahead, but or maybe not. Who knows? This is definitely helping me. It's gonna be helping my situation, because now we have a precedence, and now we know that these things happen because of patterns, because people just don't. Well, why don't you just leave her? It's like, do you understand that this whole has to do with principles and values that one holds? Divorce? What are you talking divorce? We could never get divorced. I don't want to get a divorce. You don't even talk about it. That's never going to happen. We're going to make it work. And you try and you try and you try, and you can't. It's just disappointment where your health is deteriorating. You can't even recognize yourself when you look in the mirror. And everything they call you, somehow the mirror is confirming it now. Now the poison, the virus, the monster is inside you. And they don't even have to be around. The monster takes over, and you're just going to end up in a friggin' corner, scared out of your mind to take on the day, because they build your head with so much negative notions about you that you just find yourself like, well, if I go out there, I'm like a lamb going to the slaughter. I feel all exposed. I feel so weak and vulnerable, because it's people have been fucking with your head this whole time. She's a bad, bad person. Both my ex and his ex. Bad, bad people that will fuck you up from within. I used to say that these were time bombs, that they just click, it just sits in your brain, and later it just blows up all over. And they're not even around when that happens. When they come in, they're like, see, I told you, you're fucking crazy, you're going nuts, you're in a downhill. I'm going to talk to your parents. But they've been telling everybody, they've been complaining about you, about all these things that they're causing, that they're making you do, that they make it, basically, the stress is so much that there's no way out. and communicate this to people? How can you? You're a guy that a woman is abusing you. It's fucking confusing. There's no. It's until one day I can't take it anymore. Whatever happens, happens. But it's got to be better than this.
Learned that was one of the best lessons I believe I've ever learned in my life, ever could learn in my life, based on my experiences as a child, what I'd seen and experienced. I knew exactly how to raise children.
There you go.
When my girl Vanessa got pregnant, I knew exactly how to raise children, which was to do the opposite of what they did, of what Betty Sue did.
There it is.
I had made peace with Betty Sue because I understood where she came from, and I understood how difficult her childhood was, and I understood that she had not had the proper training or proper teaching or the proper background to be anything other than what she had been when we were younger. I forgave her for all that, as one should.
Video ended with and her picture on it. So there it is. It's condensed, obviously, but we get a sense of the kind of person he is and why he is the way he is and why he opens up his arms to anybody and why he's gentle and why he's so loving with his children, and why he would never hurt a woman because he's seen what that looks like, what that feels like. And again, it's not a mean God that's sitting upstairs going, just laughing there at his ass off. Look at all the shit that I'm making these people go through. That's not it. These things happen because to pull the greatness out of us, or the strength, because we're all meant to do something important in this lifetime. But if you consider his past, my past, and your past as the season of the caterpillar, dragging yourself in the lowest of surfaces, dealing with muck, with mud, with dirt, with the lowest forms, and you digest all of that, and that stuff that you digested from dragging on the lowest places are the things that make you into that, dare I say, that beautiful butterfly that will be born out of all that crap. But there will be a death. There will be a part of your life where you're gonna be made into mush, like the caterpillar. The caterpillar is made in the cocoon, in the chrysalis. You become mush. You become nothing. You have to, like Bruce Lee used to say, you have to die and be born a new person. This is why the symbology is huge. And the symbol of a butterfly is that of transformation, of dying and being reborn. It's Jesus Christ dying on the cross, going through all that horribleness to die and then be born into something greater. So don't blame your past. In fact, celebrate it, because it's the good stuff. It's the stuff that makes you who you are today. And if you feel like you're being made into mush right now, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. It'll be over in a few. And when it's over, you'll look back and go, holy crap. But I feel so much better about myself now that I've been through all that crap. You'll be a better, stronger person from it. And then you'll act as such. When you've seen enough shit, you don't want any more of it. So you start a new path, you stop the shit, and you begin anew. You are reborn into a new life. And you do as such, because you can't keep doing the same thing you did before, right? Obviously that's the whole point. But don't fret. It'll be over in a few. And you'll be a lot stronger on the other side. That's all for today. We'll talk to you on the next one. I don't know, I'm gonna be signing off just like all these YouTubers that do it all the time, but I somehow felt the need to say to all of you that I love you all very much. I do. If you're listening to this message, it's because you're one of those people who find self-improvement and self-help and self-teaching and self-learning as primary, because we're always changing. There's only one constant thing, and it's change. Y'all have a good evening, good day, good afternoon, good night. Take it easy. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.